Hello, and welcome to episode 191 of The Joy of Coding. Hello, my name is Mike Conley. So happy to have you here. How's it going? It's Wednesday. It's October 2nd. I'm so excited to have you here. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. Who knows what's going to go on? Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's see what's going on. So let me switch to my screen and show you the agenda. Here we go. Hello. So, yes, as I said, today is October 2nd, 2019, episode 191. For the folks who are new to the stream, you might not have heard me say this before, but for people who have been watching this for a long time, you know that I say this every time. No plan survives breakfast. This stream is not planned really in any way, shape, or form. I don't really have a great sense of what it is that I want to work on, well, that's not true. I do have a sense of what I want to work on, but I don't know how it's going to go. I might find a solution. I might get stuck on a thing. I might get sent down a rabbit hole. We might end up with more questions than answers by the end of this, depending on what it is that we're working on and, how we're able to muddle our way through it. But that's the point. I'm trying to capture software development as it actually occurs at my desk, whenever I'm at my desk, when I'm trying to figure something out. So none of the solutions that I end up working with or trying out have been pre-planned. I'm doing it all off the cuff. So that's one thing. The second thing is the agenda. We're looking at this agenda right now, and that's probably less useful on video than it is if you could actually access it with your web browser. So there are links to the agenda in the various places where you're probably watching the stream. For example, if you're watching the stream on Air Mozilla, check out the handout section to my right, or well, rather my left, your right. If you're watching this on YouTube, check the video description down below for a link to the agenda. And if you're watching this on Twitch, then allow me to drop a link in the Twitch chat right now to the agenda. And if you happen to be in the Live Hacking Riot channel, I'm going to put a link to the agenda in there as well. That's if you're joining me on the Riot. Oh, I guess I didn't put a link. So last week I had talked to this, where Mozilla is testing a variety of different messaging platforms to replace IRC, and one of them is Riot/Matrix. Matrix is the protocol, Riot is the client that one can use. There are other clients that you can use as well. Mozilla has set up like a testing instance, and I'm testing it out, and I'm in the live hacking channel. So if you want to join me there, you're welcome to, and I've dropped a link to the agenda in that channel. So that's the agenda. The second thing is that there is an episode guide that's right here. So the episode guide, if you're watching this in the future and you want to know what exactly it is that I cover, check out the episode guide because it's got probably links to all the topics I cover, maybe some of the tricks that I use with LLDB or who knows. Maybe some of the things I do with Mercurial might be captured in there. It's really up to the person who wrote the guide. And usually that person is SmurfD, who is graciously works on these episode guides pretty much weekly and produces them, and I'm so thankful. And if you yourself want to add to the episode guides, or you want to add your own episode guide or your own notes, addenda, corrections, expand on something that I was talking about, maybe you have your own LLDB tricks or GDB tricks, or who knows what kind of things that you want to add, feel free to add them to the episode guide because it's completely viewer driven and it's for you, the viewers. So make it more useful to yourself. And if you're not sure how to contribute, there's a guide here on how you can contribute to the episode guide. It is effectively a GitHub repository with a bunch of markdown pages in it, or rather, some of it's markdown. Most of it's actually no longer markdown. It's like a language that something called Jekyll understands, but it's relatively straightforward. And if you check out the repository, you can see how the episode guides work. There is like this _episodes directory, and it has each of the episode folders. And so looking at like episode 190, we can take a look, and there's this like index.markdown file. Right, so it is a markdown file. And if we look inside the actual raw contents of the file, it's got some like, meta information up here that's used to render it properly in the web page, and then it's markdown after that. And that eventually becomes the episode guide at the Joy of Coding. The Joy of Coding episode guide, which is right here. And yeah, we've got up to episode 190, which was last week. So check that out if you're curious. So that's the episode guide. Now, what is it that we are working on today? Well, two things. I actually just got a little piece of information. Oh, Smurfd says you're welcome. Well, thank you again. A little piece of information from Nika, who is one of several people who's working on the Fission project. Fission being the project to make it so that Firefox not only runs tabs in their own processes, but runs subframes in those tabs in their own processes as part of the site isolation effort. That's the project name is Fission. And apparently there's a patch in this bug that might work to fix a workaround that I landed a couple of months ago for a context menu thing. And so I'm very curious to know whether or not that is the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can apply these patches. Okay, I'm just going to take a look at the complexity of the patches here, see what they touch. It doesn't look so bad. I'm going to apply these two patches, and then I'm going to see if I can get rid of the workaround. So here's how I apply patches from Fabricator. We have this Moz Fab tool. Pump up the font a little more. And right now, actually, I have Central checked out. Central from a couple of days ago, actually. Well, actually, a couple of weeks ago, September 18th. It's been a while since I pulled. So this may or may not apply cleanly. We will see. But let's find out. Moz Fab patch, and then we give it the ID of the commit, or the Fabricator revision that I want. And in this case, because there are several commits in the stack, I want the lastmost one because it's going to pull that and all of its ancestors. So I say Moz Fab patch, and then I say apply to here because I want to not apply them onto the revision that Nika based her changes on, but where I currently am in the tree. The former is the default behavior. So let's see if these apply cleanly. Patching. And the workaround, if you're curious, there's this thing called context menu special process child. This is the workaround. And I filed the bug for the issue. Oh, good. It applied properly. That's excellent. So now I'm going to build. And the idea is that we should be able to get rid of this workaround, presuming that Nika's patch works as expected. So the way that this workaround works is there are certain special pages that we load in Firefox. This workaround is specifically for the context menu. So this thing, oh, I didn't mean to go back, but this menu that comes up, and the workaround for the context menu is for About Add-ons. So About Add-ons is a page that we actually load in the parent process, although some parts of it are loaded in a separate process. So for example, the Facebook container add-on here, I believe there are parts of it that run in its own process. Actually, let me find a better example. One that like exposes some options. Maybe Privacy Badger does? No. Gotta find one that exposes some options. Maybe this one? No. This one. Yeah, it's got preferences. So this is actually what we're looking at inside this preferences tab is actually rendering inside of the extension process, the web extension process. And so the context menu here works as one would hope. So you can like cut and paste and stuff, cut, paste. But and then we have a different context menu up here, and that only works because of this workaround. When I didn't have the workaround, the context menu wouldn't actually open in this particular scenario. So let's see if after applying Nika's patch, we can get the context menu to actually work properly. So this build is finishing, and then I can actually disable the workaround by going to, what is it, actor, manager, parent, context menu. Yes. No, it's in browser glue, I guess. Browser glue. Context menu. Right. So let's get rid of that registration. So now that I've done that, that means that the workaround is now inert. Now let's load up, let's run a build, load up about add-ons, and find out whether or not the context menu opens. So let's just do like a little bit of smoke testing. And then we can push it to try and get a sense of whether or not it fixes it in like all the tests and automation. So this appears to work. Yeah. Let's get some extensions. Let's see. Let's find an extension. Share backported was the one that I had an example for. Yep. So we'll install this. Okay, got it. So share backported, preferences. Hey. I think it works. So, whoops, didn't mean to run that. I didn't mean to run that. But as you can see, I've been running Monkey Island. That's great. That's great news. I believe that... Oh, context menu, miscellaneous. This is a warning. Oh, okay, warnings, firing warnings. Let me take a look at my notes for when I did the context menu workaround, because I think I wrote down the names of the... the names of the tests that were breaking in about add-ons. There are a bunch of pages here. Test out of process. Yeah, this might have been involved. Let's run this. Let's see what happens if we run this, for example. So let's close that and run that. It is a great game, Smurf D. Monkey Island 2. And I was playing the remastered version. What's really nice about Monkey Island 2 remastered version is that you can play it with the more modern art and more modern interface, or you can play it with the original art and the original interface. And I actually prefer, personally, the original interface. But it's nice to be able to see the new art as well. They did a great job on the art. I've always found like they optimized for screen real estate, I think, and like really large backgrounds, which are beautiful in the remastered version. But I think they lost some of the clarity of the original UI, where it was so simple to choose, like walk to, pick up, etc. Now you have this kind of awkward right-click menu, which I find a bit strange. So that all passed. Let's pick another one at random. Let's do this one. And if this passes, then what we should do next is push it to try and see what try thinks. Tentative. So I'm going to tell Nika, tentatively, this appears to fix the issue. Going to push to try with the workaround removed. So let's get rid of the workaround officially. So this file is in browser actors, so I'm going to say hgrm browser actors context menu special process child. Brought about by it. There are other issues with NS context menu brought about by the workaround or by your patch. Like, what happens now if the timing changed? So my patch. Oh, I see. Yeah, that one fails for sure. I see. Commenting of the workaround act doesn't appear to have fixed them. Nods. Okay, so that's great news. Then never mind. I won't push to try if there's other stuff that's broken. I'm going to, I think I'm going to hook up the bug I filed with the workaround as a dependent, so that it depends on your patch. And then Nick asks, do you know where this .browser.current URI spec? It's changed a bit since I last thought about it. But 1 sec. Remote web progress.jsm. I think here. Which gets called by yeah, this is quite a bit. So the question that Nika is asking is about the current URI property of browser custom element.js. There's this current URI, and what it's returning is web navigation current URI. Web navigation is remote web navigation. And remote web navigation, as I pointed out, the current URI is underscore current URI, and underscore current URI gets set in, ooh, this maybe, and here. Update for location change and set current URI. So the browser is referred to as, so I don't think it's a Zool browser at all. Okris in the Twitch chat asks, are you still working on picture-in-picture? Since I'm using it now for your Twitch stream, and when I pause it and then try to unpause it, I get JavaScript error, such and such, toggle is null. So whenever you try and that error might not be actually related to the That error, yeah, that's an annoying error. I actually don't think it's actually, let me get my words together. There are two problems here. That's a spurious error that we should probably get rid of, but it's not actually the thing that's causing the problem that's preventing you from resuming the stream after it pauses. There's a known bug where, here, this bug right here, 1582378, where after you pause the a video on Twitch in particular, if you press play, it doesn't work. And the reason for that is kind of laid out in here, but effectively, Twitch does some very complicated things. Specifically, there's like a WASM module that's running inside of a worker, and whenever you press play in Twitch, it sends a message to that worker to generate a thing that's part of the request to actually make playing work or something. Basically, calling the .play method on the video element directly, which is what the play pause button does for picture-in-picture, doesn't work. And the same problem actually, you get the same problem with Opera. So for example, if I open up Opera and I go to Twitch, and here's someone watching, here's their Twitch, or their picture-in-picture toggle, I bring that up. Here's their picture-in-picture player window. If I pause, and then I hit play again, it does not work. And it's for the exact same reason. So, quit Opera. What are you saying, Nika? My guess is that with the old code, we'd always catch events like this at the frame script, they'd only be caught by the fallback, but with the new one, we catch them at the correct window level in the actor. Do you know how we got that browser in that situation? So let me bring the conversation I'm having over here. How we get the browser. So the browser is referred to is iframe DevTools toolbox bottom frame. And the failure that the stop browser from S context menu. As context menu in init and 193. This dot browser we get from open context menu. Yes. Yeah, I think the browser ends up being passed to as context menu via the context menu parent. So context menu parent, the second argument it passes to win.open context menu. So context menu parent.jsm. Sorry, I'm helping Nika out because she's got some questions for me. This stuff is probably what she wants to see. This stuff is probably most relevant. It's okay. I'm capturing hacking in the raw. This is all part of it. Okay, so what did I want to do now? Now that I've worked with Nika a little bit on this, and right, I wanted to hook up the dependency on the workaround. The workaround context menu special process child. This bug here, I believe, can be closed. Depends on this. With a little bit of testing, It seems as if the patch from Nika in bug such and such will fix this, and then we can remove the context menu special process child.jsm workaround. Okay. So that's nice. Kind of got a little freebie there. What do I want to work on now? So remember picture-in-picture? We were just talking about it in the oh boy, lots of messages. Let me close this instance of IRC. This looks a lot like the RDM issues. Mumble, browsers within browsers. Yeah, perfect. So I wanted to talk a little bit about picture-in-picture. Specifically, Tasia, if you remember last week, we were looking at Tasia's patch to move on to port the picture-in-picture code to use JS window actors to make it more fission compatible. And we had done a little bit of investigation. One of the things that we discovered, let me actually switch to, let me revert all the changes I made locally because I don't actually need them. And then we'll check out this patch. We'll rebuild. Let me change my notification settings here. And then build. So what we discovered, or what I discovered, because last week we kind of got halfway through the problem, and so I can kind of catch you up here. Where was it? Fission. It is this one. So last week we discovered that we're swapping out the window global child and the window global parent for that initial about blank load. We found that if we like put a sleep, like a really sloppy sleep, before getting access to the current window global and sending a message down through that window global's actor, the picture-in-picture actor, we could get the picture-in-picture display showing. And so that was a bit annoying. And part of the reason for that is because it seems like by putting a source inside of the browser element, you force it to actually cause that URL to load as soon as you put it in the DOM, even if that URL is about blank. About blank is kind of special. Excuse me. It is our every time you create a content viewer, we create usually an about blank document for it, the empty document, and so creating a Zool browser pointed at about blank and inserting it has this weird behavior where the initial about blank is created and then it then attempts to load a second about blank on top of it, and that causes the current window global to get swapped out, and that was the problem. So Nika recommended or wanted me to investigate something, and I want to spend the rest of this episode actually looking into it. And it has to do with how we insert, this stuff. So here we're getting the actor. We trigger a load here. I want to get rid of this for now and not load about blank. Instead, we're just going to set no default sources to true. So no default source, I don't know if there's actually any documentation for no default source. Use the no default source. No default source. Right. So 6 years ago, we have this thing that's like add a no default source. If the frame is a Zool element and has the attribute no default source is true, then we will not use about blank as fallback, but return early without starting to load if no source attribute is given or it's empty. Interesting. So we have a no default source there. And then he's like, we should document that thing. And this guy's like, yeah. And I don't think they ever did. Great. But no default source effectively means don't attempt to load anything. I think it's still going to create that default about blank, will it not? Well, so now that this is built, I can show you where I got to, because I kind of already know the answer of what's going to happen now. So let's go to like Big Buck Bunny, our test page. I'm going to right click and choose, or I'm going to play. I'm going to mute this. We don't have to listen to it. Let's loop it. And then I'm going to choose picture in picture. And the window opens, but nothing actually gets displayed inside here, which is really annoying. And I don't know why that is. And now this complains about various things being broken. Oh, right, because there were other things in Tasia's patch that were broken that I think, hold on. There were other things that I applied, some fixes on top that we might want back. Hold on, let me see here. Good, okay, so hang on, let me revert. And now let me switch to this patch, which already has a bunch of the fixes that I needed to Tasia's original work. All right, let's build that. Okay, so mute, don't want the sound, right click, picture in picture. Oh, and then it shows up. Great. Oh, yeah, because of, that's with what we did last week with the sleep and stuff, and because we were loading about blank. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say no default source to true. And I'm going to keep the sleep in here. And what you'll see is very interesting. Well, that's also interesting. Like, notice. All right, let me play and loop this thing. I just noticed something else. Well, first of all, notice that, like, the clone never occurs. There's also a bit of a lag where the window opens up, the picture-in-picture player window opens up, and then this thing sort of switches over to saying, hey, I'm playing picture-in-picture mode. So I don't know what's going on there. Oh, it's because of this wait. Yeah, sorry. Let's get rid of the wait as well. The other thing is that the actors have not been changed. Before, whenever we did this and, you know, I'm loading about blank, the actors would be different. So let's put it back the way it was, and I'll show you that the actors would be different because of the extra load of the second about blank on top of the original about blank. So looking at the console here, same actor's false, right? Because the original actor, now, and it plays properly, but the actors, got swapped out. So let's put it back the way it was. And so now the question becomes, why isn't it displaying? So I can get rid of all this stuff. I don't need this. We are actually sending the correct setup player message to the correct actor. However, the document is like not displaying for some reason. That's very mysterious. Okay, so let me first of all let's attach the content toolbox, and then inside of picture-in-picture child, we're going to set a breakpoint right here where the setup player message is handled. Okay, and we've hit it, and we don't have to wait for the document to load. But what I want to do initially, let's actually take a look at our content window. It is about blank document. It's an about blank document. I also want to know what the size of the document is. So yeah, content window, inner width 320, inner height. So it has dimensions. This window has dimensions, or it thinks it has dimensions. The document, body, get bounding client rect. So that's interesting. The body itself doesn't appear to think it has dimensions. Why not? Document body, document style. Style, no properties. But currently, so I think, and the inner HTML is just this really empty document. But the window, so the window itself has dimensions, but the document itself does not. So let us step through. We create the player video, we append it to the document body. So doc body get bounding client rect. Still has no dimensions. Client top 0, client height 0, doc body client height 0, document body visible, style visibility. It's not like there are any rules saying that this document is not supposed to be visible. Document outer HTML. Doc, document, element, outer HTML. This is the definition of the web page. It's an HTML document. The overflow is hidden, has no margins, it has a video. And that's it. So how come it has no dimensions? document, just doc shell, this doc shell. So that's interesting. We have this notion of a doc shell. Is the doc shell active? This doc shell is active. True. So that means that the doc shell is awake. Navigating is loading documents, unloaded in Moz browsers, content, Zap tab is active. Has loaded non-blank URIs false. Why wouldn't it be displayed? Nika asks, does front-end code generally expect all content is loaded within a browser? Generally, yes. Yes. I believe so, with the possible sole exception being RDM with their Moz browser iframe. Jetpack extensions used to load the contents of their buttons as iframes, as I recall. So it's not a browser custom element. Okay. So the question is, let me write down the question so that we are keeping track of what we're doing. Question: how come when we have no default source equals true, that even though the window has dimensions, the document body itself does not? Let's also see if this is something we can recreate. I'm going to do a thing. Let's say, open up a new tab here. Gbrowser, selected browser, parent node. Okay, it's the stack. I'm going to say let parent equal the parent node, and then gbrowser selected browser. We're going to say that be well, have that be parent, and then we'll say browser.remove, remove attribute source. I don't think there will be a source attribute on it anyways, but just in case. And then browser.set attribute no default source true, and then parent.append child browser, all in one go. Okay. Now in here, can't get the content toolbox open? No? Maybe not for... Wait a second. No default source is true. Let's do that again. But this time, let's make sure that it loads in the same process as... Oh, I think I've horribly broken my browser with that little bit of shenanigans. Let's shut down. What was I trying to do there? Well, let's dive in a little bit and try and figure out how no default source works. What is it that we skip when no default source is true? Here's a place where we use it. We create a browser at about blank. Prevents a frame loader from being created as soon as the link browser is inserted to the DOM. We thus have to register the new outer window ID for non-remote browsers. Default source. Ooh, there's like this transparent. Should try that out. To do. What happens if we the transparent attribute on the player browser, just out of curiosity? Okay. Anyways, no default source. Source is empty. If the frame is a Zool element has no default source true, then we will not use about blank as fallback. Return early without starting a load. Okay, let's go back to where we were. I feel like we were onto something, or it felt like I was onto something. Where I get the content toolbox. 51761. I'm also going to open up the browser toolbox and get the player.js. Okay. So the process ID is 51761. Hit our breakpoint here, browser.frameloader.remote-tab.ospid. Okay, so it's loaded in the right process. Is it being displayed? Render is frameloader.remote-tab.render layers. True, it is being displayed. Has presented. True. Okay. The window is here now. And we are now, here, I'll put it over here. We're setting it up. Clone the element visually. And then we get to here. Now normally we'd be displaying the video at this point. We'd be cloning the content, and I think we actually are. It's just that the document body is too small. Doc.body. get bounding client rect. If I force a width on it, doc.body.style.width equals 100% and a height of 100%, it's still too small. What if I get, like, set a height and a width? Still doesn't have any size. Document element style height equals 500px, width is 500px, still no size. Why? Why do you not have a size? You wouldn't have a size if you weren't connected. Is connected? It is connected. Why would the size be 0? Why would my dimensions be 0? Why would my dimensions be 0? Your dimensions will be 0 if we're optimizing, for example, if we don't need to calculate layout because we don't think we're visible. We don't think we're in a page that needs to actually be displayed. This doc shell. This content window doc shell. Content window utils. Oh, and we crashed. But what's on window utils? Is there anything I could use to like do some diagnosis? Tom window utils. Update layer tree. Oh, very good. Get content viewer size. Get resolution. Get pres shell ID. Needs flush, get root. Returns the bounds the Windows currently loaded document. Oh, that might be interesting. Send content command event. Select a point, give visited. I'm basically looking for utility functions that I can call to get more diagnostic information. Painting suppressed. Find out if painting is suppressed. Let's do that. Let's find out if painting is suppressed. So I have to close this instance of the browser content toolbox and open up this one to attach the new content process, and then okay, this dot content window utils dot is painting suppressed. What is what was it? Painting. Painting, just painting suppressed. No, we are not suppressing painting. Is parent window main widget visible? Is parent window main widget? That's what I want. Hello? Did I kill this content process? All right, let's close this debugger. Let's do that again. That crashes. All right. So it doesn't like it when I ask that question. What other questions did I want to ask? Frames constructed. Oh, that's a good question. Frames constructed. Oh. Hang on. We have not constructed any frames. That's interesting. Frames reflowed. What was the one at the very top that I wanted? It was something like the size. I can get the viewport info, get content viewer size. Let, what is it? Width equal that, height equal that. And then I want to call get content window size. Oh man, come on. Guess this isn't going to be very useful. Get content viewer size. This isn't going to be useful at all because I can't get the information out unless I this dot height equal this dot width equal. There we go. And it's this dot width, this dot height, this dot width, this dot height. So the content viewer has dimensions. The content viewer has dimensions. Whether the next paint is the first paint. is first paint. Nope, it's painted before. Pres shell. Get pres shell ID. That sounds like it'd be a good idea. Get pres shell ID. 17. It has a pres shell. Has a pres shell. But it's too small. Why is it too small? Get root bounds. That sounds like an interesting question. The root bounds are 0. Determines the bounds of the Windows currently loaded document. This will generally be 0, 0 page width, page height. What we do is we get the root as scrollable, the scroll port, the bounds, get scroll range, get the bounds if there's a scrollable frame. Otherwise, we get the root frame. Is the pres shell active? If the doc shell is active, pres shell should be active. Doc shell is active equals false equals true. Let's hit play. Where's the little window? Where's the window? Where is my little window? Oh, I have a breakpoint here. What is happening? Everything's broken. Okay, reload. Set up the player. This window, I want to get at the browser and see whether or not the render layers is set to true. I think it is. This document get element by ID browser b equal that render layers equals false equals true. Why would the dimensions be all small? Dimensions too small. when we load a document, we have a content viewer. SI content viewer. Right? Oh, come on, search Fox, come on. Content viewer. There's a container. Let's figure that out. Whether or not the content viewer exists and what its bounds are. Oh, I don't think I can actually call it. Ooh, show and hide. Ooh, interesting, interesting. Content viewer. Okay. Back over here we go. But I'm going to use browser content toolbox. How do we get access to the content viewer? .js. This .docshell.content viewer. Okay. This .docshell.content viewer show. Where's the window now? Oh, here it is. Here's the window. Is this the right debugger? I think it is. I've got like two open, and that's a problem, I think. Services.process app shell services. Here. Services. Yeah, this one works. Hide. Show. What else do we know about this content viewer? .container. Header window ID. Is hidden. We should ask to see, are you hidden? No. Get content size. So this is like similar to before. What I'll do is I'll say this dot height is that, this dot width equals that. Then I can call docshell dot content viewer dot get content size, this dot width, this dot height. Oh. What? I don't think that's meant to be called from JS unless get content size. I got an NS error failure. It's only valid to access this from a top frame. Doesn't work from subframes. Same process type as parent. Doc shell parent. Who is the doc shell parent? Doc shell query interface CI SI doc shell tree item. Parent. Same type parent. Doesn't have a parent. So there is no doc shell parent. So we ensure true that there's no doc shell parent. Okay, and then we do this. Content size internal. We will fail if we have no pres shell. And then we will also fail if we don't get a root frame. We'll also fail if we don't have a presentation context. So could that be it? No root frame? Root frame. How do I find out if I have a root frame? What is a root frame? Root frame. Frame manager. Get calls through to the frame manager. Get to the root frame. Okay. The viewport, the lifetime of the root frame is controlled by the frame manager. When the frame manager is destroyed, destroys the entire frame hierarchy. The frame manager interface. Frame manager serves one purpose. Handle structural modifications of the frame model. Remove frame. I got a feeling I can't mess around with any of this stuff from JavaScript. Yeah. All right. So here's what we know. The document body does not have dimensions. Attempting to call get content size on the doc shell's content viewer for the player window results in an NS error failure. Does that mean that there's no root frame? Calling hide show on the content viewer or render layers true false on the browser has no effect. What else? What else? What else? A pres shell does appear to exist. I can get at the ID via SI DOM window utils. I think I need to talk to some layout people. That might be my best solution here. Talk to some layout people and try and figure out what's going on. Let me see if I can formulate the issue. When I try to create if I send a message down to a Zool browser, no default, true, and attempt to insert something into the a default about blank body, it doesn't appear. Why? All right, let's see if I can ask someone from layout. But I don't think I'm going to do that on the stream. I think I'm going to call it here. This was not super satisfying. We did a little bit of deep diving. You know, didn't get the answers that we were looking for, but I feel like I inched a little bit closer, and that's important. So I'm going to call it here. Hey, thanks so much for watching episode 191 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Let me know what you thought. There is a form to rate the episode in the agenda. Send me your feedback. Did this work? Did it not? What do you want to see more of? What do you want to see less of? I read all of the feedback that comes in. Smash that form or whatever. Like and subscribe. Isn't that what the YouTubes say? Hit that bell or something. Yeah, I'm real cool now. And I will see you folks next week. Let me just switch cameras. So yeah, have yourself a great week. I will see you next week for episode 192. Hopefully I will have made some progress on this by then. So that's it. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, hold on a second. Gotta bring up Wacky Morning DJ. Wake up, wake up. To play exit. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.